Okay, guys, so in this video, I kind of want to talk about my thought process on Tesla, what happened, why I think something happened, and basically what is going to be the technical analysis, the breakdown, and what I should be looking for into tomorrow. So, first things first, I'm going to go ahead and edit this photo. I'll go ahead and start drawing. And one thing I want to recognize is that I do want to recognize the fact that there is this massive spike the day prior. So Tesla had been going on a run the day prior, and so you had some upward momentum. And if you can see down here in the corner, you can see Tesla has some good buy volume. And notice how big the buy volume candles on this little corner down here is relatively to all this other buy volume, all the other volume candles, right? So that's pretty interesting. And notice how when these volume candles are kind of lower, I'm gonna go ahead and use a white. When the candles are lower, we see more of a consolidation period in the market. Consolidation. So it's very interesting, and I apologize for my spelling. Now, something else we do want to notice is that we had this massive gap on the upside. So this gap overnight, and this is going into today, this gap happened because of possible news. So news is a question mark, exclamation mark, right? So there was thought to be news. I think some Elon Musk documentation got leaked. It was like Tesla got fined for paying off their loans too early, which is a really good thing. But it also, it flagged out pretty fast. And so this is just, overvaluation in the market. Right? But notice how we had this tremendous amount of buy volume, and then we got met with an equal and just even greater amount of sell volume. We had some buy volume area right here. We had a little bit more buy volume area right here, but we just had so much more sell pressure in the stock that we just had our downward momentum just going out. We had a lot of downward momentum. So here we can just go ahead and mark a new level. We can mark out our, a bottom out. We bottomed out there and we consolidated. Go ahead and bring out our white one. We consolidated between this area. So we consolidated between this area, and we also want to mark, I forgot to do this earlier, we want to mark this bottomed out level over here. And this is pretty important. So we're just going to go ahead and call this a level. And then we also want to mark I wouldn't want to call this the high of day because of just how overnight gapped it was. So I'll just go ahead and mark this one high of day, even though this was pre-market high. That was our pre-market high, and this is our high of day, right? So we want to obviously mark those levels, but we want to be very wary between these areas. Between those areas is something that we actually do need to keep an eye out for. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and make this line better. Boom. Between those areas is something we need to look out for. And I'm honestly surprised we didn't see enough consolidation between those levels. Maybe we saw a little bit bounce up in this area right here, but it honestly wasn't anything that I was too proud of to see. But we also want to mark, we always want to mark our previous day statistics and today's statistics, right? So this is a level, this is a level. Now, we also marked our high of day. I do want to note that as we went up, we started going back up on our day. Notice how the buy volume really didn't change that much. We didn't see a massive spike in buy volume like this area right here. We didn't see the same amount of buy volume. Actually, we saw higher spikes of sell, and we saw lower spikes of buy. So higher sell and lower buy. Now, usually, and this isn't always the same case scenario, usually when we have these high amounts of buy volume and we're just trending upwards, almost vertical in this scenario, it's going to sell off. It's going to die off. And throughout the day, we're getting these nice little spikes of just sell volume, right? So we're getting sell volume here, we're getting sell volume here. And notice how they're significantly higher than this. These do not equal each other. right? The buy volume right here does not equal the sell volume candles right here. So we are going to trend downwards. The only time where it kind of changes is this area right here, which I would have been looking at, but I was already kind of too far in a direction. So we had a small consolidation period right here, but notice how we still kind of trended downwards for the most part. So I wouldn't really call this a consolidation period. You can if you want to, but in my opinion, we still have some really good downward trends to where it's not really consolidation. It's more just very choppy level bouncing. Option playing in that area would have destroyed you. I mean, pick your poison, man. So playing the call options on this side, playing the call options right here would have been nice to see, especially off this bounce, which I don't know the level that's on right now. The 181-ish level, around the 180s. So maybe Tesla 180 is a level of importance. Honestly, doesn't matter to me right now. Looking at the chart, just doing my analysis. But what I do want to note is that we know there was not enough buy volume to come back to keep the price artificially high. So I'll just go ahead and note that down, right? So I'll go into note. Let's see, can I just change color? I'll do red. Not enough buy volume to support pop. Right? Now we also don't have, we're getting a lot of sell volume, right? So usually if we're trending upwards and the buy volume doesn't support it, these green candles are buy volume. If the buy volume does not support our upward trend, that means more likely we're not gonna hold it, and that's exactly what happened here. Now we could leave it up to the levels, right? Why did we break so hard? Well, it's because we probably broke the previous day lows, the previous day consolidation level. That was a big support level previous day. So when we broke it here in this area, obviously we could see some more momentum, and we saw a little bit of spike in volume. But I don't think it was justified, in my opinion. And things happen in the market that aren't justifiable all the time. So that breakout could have been consistent with the level break, and then this breakout could have been consistent with another level break right here. However, it's not consistent, in my opinion. You could count it if you want to. I'm just going to ignore it. I choose to ignore it. Now, moving on, we peaked at our new high of day, which is around here. We peaked out. Cool, whatever. We already marked it, and we just trend downwards. Now, I do want to mark where we bounce off down here. This is kind of a new interesting area for me, and especially because I didn't expect it to bounce here. If we just draw this line backwards, we kind of tail. We have our tails hit here, but I don't, it's not necessarily a new level I want to say is being created, but I definitely want to say as of the level was not created here. This is not where the level was created, right? However, I think the level was created mostly around this area. I think the level was created around here. This became the 182 level, or I'm just going to use whole numbers for the sake of the video. The 182 marker is definitely interesting because it's created itself here. And as you can see, it bounced between this other really hard levels of yesterday and what we know to be today. Bounce between those levels, and it's bouncing between this new level. So this is, once again, we could call it consolidation. Another consolidation period. And this is where you usually just play the breakout. Usually when there's a breakout between these consolidation periods, it's pretty big. So tomorrow, depending on which direction it goes, this is another consolidation. So I'm also going to note this as my zone of importance. So it's either the watch zone or the zone of importance, whatever you want to call it. I want to note this level for tomorrow. As you can see, this is the level that we worked off today, and this is how the market reacted. It either when it gapped up, it broke down. And that's also something else I want to note, right? So go to the second note. Gaps fill. And what I mean by that is that if we have this massive spike overnight, just like we did right here, we had this massive spike overnight, it's going to fill. So, for example, if I just go right here and I draw a chart, if the chart goes up, 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 and it just suddenly gaps down, obviously this zone that it just gaps down does not exist. However, eventually it's going to want to fill that zone one way or another just to where it can equalize in its levels. Now, that might be confusing, but just know, if there's a gap in the market, it's either going to fill, it's going to fill back up, or it's supposed to. It doesn't always happen, but 9 out of 10 times it does fill, right? So let's say a stock is going down, right? It goes down. Shit. I'm on eraser. Say the stock goes, or it's going up, 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 and it just has a gap up, right? So this is the gap region. The stock should start falling to fill this gap region. If you don't know what it means, I'll show you the perfect example right here on Tesla. So let me go ahead and erase all this. You don't really want to see this. We had a gap, possibly from news, and immediately it started falling down and we went back to normal levels. It was out of range, so we were out of normal levels. Therefore, the gap filled. Gaps always fill. Gaps usually always fill. So I want you guys to note that because gaps always almost fill. So I thought that was pretty important. Anyone who kind of just saw Tesla gap up that big, if it didn't run, obviously the gap was going to fill. And just keep an eye on these little spikes in volume. Notice how Tesla just went crazy in this period right here. Tesla went absolutely crazy, but going on over here, we're diminishing in volume. So our volume throughout the day is just decreasing. Tesla's overvaluated usually. There's not enough people wanting to buy it. There's not enough news. So I'll make another note of that for tomorrow. So note Tesla diminishing volume. Diminish vol. So I always keep these notes in mind. I like to write my notes out. And I mean, you don't have to. Depends on the kind of person you are. But I always like to write my notes out. Like to circle them. Whatever, however you want to do it. Right? Always just... This is how I do my technical analysis. I like to look over things at night. Recently just got an iPad, so shout out to the iPad. Hope you guys enjoyed this little new way of lecture. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Watch this video as many times as you need. There's a lot of great information, and you can honestly learn a lot about the stock market if you start doing your own technical analysis. Do your own readings at night. Do your own little markups. It's a really good time saver. And instead of just going out and looking for articles of, why did Tesla do this? I kind of like to see how it's working on my own. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and have a good one.